Hello and welcome to Sync Spiders Ops podcast. My name is Norbert and I'm your host. And today we are talking with Ronnie from Branzio Watches. Hi, Ronnie.
Hey buddy, what's going on?
Yeah, wow, we have nice weather here in Austria. The day
Yeah,
just started, so everything is great. How is it in Vancouver?
yo, I'm in Bangkok. Bangkok's pretty hot, man. Pretty warm. 36 degrees out today,
In
so it's getting
Bangkok,
months of
okay.
summer. Yeah,
That's
dude.
cool.
Yeah, I'm originally from Vancouver, but I spend a few months of the year here in Bangkok.
That's cool. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Ronnie, just tell me, how did you first get into e-commerce?
Yeah, so I started in e-commerce maybe in about 2009, 2010. I was the first digital marketing manager for HSBC for the retail banking in Canada, and it was a new position. And of course, in a bank, they don't really look into you working in digital as a high enough thing because it's an institution which is basically very safe. So digital was something new, and they said, look, we don't know how this works. We need a young guy to come in and explain it to us, and that's how I started in digital. But I think I really understood e-commerce and how e-commerce works and how to bite into the digital aspect of the as a field when I started working for Best Buy. And Best Buy is big electronics company. Everything is just go 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 go. Everything follows the retail cycle. Everything is like extremely focused on online and offline, driving traffic to the store and all that. So I gotta give credit where credit is due. So I fell in love with e-commerce, the retail aspect of it. There's no boring day, there's no same day 2 days in a row in retail. So yeah, I definitely would say that that's where I broke my teeth in.
That's cool, great. And what's
Yeah.
your current e-com stack? What do you use?
Yeah, for me, right now, so we have a portfolio of about 10 to 15 different websites, right? So Branzio being the main one. So we actually have a few affiliate sites which are based on WordPress. But the main store and the whole store is actually based on Shopify. And of course, there's a few apps here and there that we use. There's a app called Stamp.io, Reviews.io, like all these other guys that we use. So Klaviyo, big one. I actually just recently migrated to Klaviyo for email from Mailchimp. I should have done it a
Yeah.
long time ago, so that was completely my fault. But if anybody is listening and everybody wants to have a go, I think I cannot recommend the guys at Klaviyo enough. They definitely know what they're doing, and setting up all the flows, setting all the upsells. I think uh, made about we've already made about $30,000 in month number one versus I think in Mailchimp we were making something like $5,000 or $6,000. So it's 5x the revenue, and most people don't want to shift to Klaviyo because it's a little bit more expensive. But the thing is, if your sales are going up, if your revenue's gone up 5 times, then it's a no-brainer. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Fully agree. Absolutely. And do you also sell on marketplaces or is it
yeah,
just the store?
well, not on Amazon. The problem with Amazon is Amazon considers jewelry and watches to be a very highly fraud-related category. So Amazon is extremely hard to get approved for on a marketplace basis. But we've tried on eBay, we've tried on Walmart. But the thing is, what we've noticed it actually ends up cheapening our brand out because we don't want to be associated with like some for lack of a better word, there are some watches out there that that are very much private labeled, and I can see them and I know that these are $10 watches that somebody's selling on there for like $50.
Mhm.
So we also need to preserve our brand integrity. So that's one of the reasons why we actually don't sell on marketplaces.
Okay. And how do you handle shipping and accounting, all this kind of stuff? What's your stack there?
Yeah, so our stack for shipping is basically is all global. It's managed out of there's a couple of warehouses. EasyPost, that's a pretty big one that it integrates into Shopify directly. Uh, for sorry, the second one was accounting. Accounting is
Accounting?
zero. You just plug into zero, man. XERO. That does all your bookkeeping automatically. I think there's a companies
Yeah.
out there for e-commerce. I can highly recommend Bean Ninjas. You can just they just plug into your they just plug into your Stripe account, your PayPal account, all that stuff, and they just take care of everything for you. And it's something ridiculously cheap, like maybe $1,000 a year. So that's
Oh.
that's just a no-brainer. Yeah.
And are you producing the watches yourself or is it just a white label product or
No, we don't believe in white labeling. So actually, for us, we
yeah?
actually go down. We actually have designers. We actually have people who are actually like working on these watches on a daily basis. So, for example, right now we are working on the spring launch of 2021. But with COVID and everything else, I want to put it out there that because watches are sort of like a luxury item. So, our sales did drop in February. They did drop in March, but in April we actually up 100%. So there are times that you will because it's not a necessity, right? It's like one of those fashion items which is definitely not something that you need, but it's something that it's a good to have. So
Good to have
from
and
that
that you
perspective,
want. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it also helps that we don't have enough like competition from other companies right now in the market. We're trying to plow as much as more into Facebook and Instagram. People are trying to conserve as much cash. So there's not it's because I think it's burning money, but I think it's the other way around. It's an opportunity for smaller brands to step in and actually like try and scale as quickly as possible.
Do you have people in your team that are focused on operations, or how many people do you have?
Yeah, we have about like 25 people now. So out of the
Uh-huh.
25 people, we have about 3 people that are solely focused on operations. So
Yeah.
operations, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of actually having operational people, but I think it really, really makes sense to have operations related folks, especially because, I can always give orders and I can direct people in certain ways, but for somebody to go and execute them to make sure that we actually focused on, the target and the goal, and people to ask me questions, why it's happening, how it's happening, how the execution is going to happen. We need operations people. So like to have everything like the shipping, the accounting, like all that kind of stuff, we definitely need people like that. So people who manage the dev queue, for example, right? Because everybody's got 10 different questions they want to ask developers every day. But the thing is, you need somebody who's evolved to say, look, this is how you prioritize it. This is what's going to make us revenue. This is how we're going to go about it. So, with me, like, I'm an entrepreneur. So every day I have 10 different ideas. So I'm always going to throw them at the developers. So you need somebody who basically says, look, wait a second, we need to prioritize based on what's going to make us revenue short term. How is it going to take care of the customers in the long run? How are we going to make this work in the long run? And the execution of it is extremely important. To have an idea is important, but the execution of that idea is, 2 times that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So is there with your stacks when you think about Shopify, is there everything that you need? So is this do you have everything you need in terms of apps so that you can connect data with each other or products with each other, tools?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're using the Google Data Studio as a dashboard. In some cases, for the ads, we use also a company called Supermetrics, which is quite interesting. And you can actually, it's just a simple plug and play API that you can use into your Google dashboard or your Facebook dashboard and all that kind of stuff. So it's good to know, like, on a weekly basis how much you're spending, how much you're making, what's the cost of goods. Like, for example, right now, although I'd like to sell more, the problem is we only down to about last 20-30% of our stock. So what we don't want to be in as a situation is we don't want to be out of stock, and hopefully it's going to be cutting it extremely close, where I think our shipments are leaving. They left China 2 weeks ago, and we still have to wait maybe another 2 weeks till they get in. So my expectation is hopefully in the next 2 weeks we don't sell out, because if we do, then it's one of those things where we have to email our customers and let them know, hey, look, we're sorry we don't have the stock, and it leads to a bad brand recall. And I personally am not a big fan of that.
Yeah, I understand. And are your watches available also in retail stores or only online in
Well,
your store?
we had a couple of big Canadian retail chain stores. The Bay, the Bay owns Saks Fifth Ave, which is quite a luxury store in the US. So we're trying to get into those kind of stores. We're trying to see how it is. We had some mom and pop shops in Germany. We had some mom and pop shops in the UK and France and all those kind of places, because we display ourselves at fairs. But the problem with retail versus being direct as an e-commerce brand is you get to actually control the whole experience, first of all. Second of all, in retail, people are actually not going to be as involved with you to keep the customer happy. A customer will just go in. I mean, so an example of this would be like when you go to a Best Buy, right? Apple is such a powerful brand that in Best Buy, they control the whole Apple experience. So an Apple experience in Best Buy is the same as going to an Apple store, right? Because they are so concerned about the whole brand experience. Whereas for me, like, I'm not an Apple. I'm not like some hotshot, big watch guy, but hopefully we become one. And the idea is that when I am in retail stores, I actually cannot control that one-on-one interaction with the customer at the end of the day. When the customer gets the watch, how do they open the watch? What does the box experience look like? Is the customer telling them, the positives of this watch? We have a lifetime guarantee on all our products. Even if your watch breaks 5 years down the line, you just send it back to us and we'll replace it for you. So these are extremely important things for me. When we look at customers are not there only for the short term. They're not only there for like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And a lot of people look at it that way. We want our customers to last us a lifetime. We're not here for, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years. We're here for the next decade. We're here for the next 2 decades. We're here for the next 50 years if need be, right? But the idea is that goes back, the only people who we want to hire are the people who think customer first, right? So if you work at Branzio Watches, you start by literally starting in customer service. You could have had 30 years of experience as a CEO of Apple, for all I care. But if you're not working on the chats, phones, email, talking to customers from day one, then you don't have a place in the organization. For the first 3 months, anybody who joins us works in customer service.
That's a great idea. Great philosophy. Yeah, I like this idea
Yeah, I mean,
because
I'm
you really
every
are
week
in touch with people. Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
but every weekend I'm on customer service. Not every weekend, but every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you ever come to the store, you'll probably find me online on there talking to customers.
That's
It's,
cool.
it's my job, man. If I don't know what my customers are thinking, what the brand, what they think about the brand, then it's my failure not to address the needs.
So you have really, this was one of my questions actually. What do you do to have a constant experience for users? And this pretty much covers this question. So to be really there for them, to have to give them a great experience by being there.
Well, I have to. It's like I know my team appreciates it, but I think it's even more important that I'm there in person on the front lines getting my hand dirty. I think it's like it's motivational for the people as a leader, but I think it's also motivational for me to be there because I actually get to talk to my customers firsthand. It's like, hey, what's the problem? Tell me what the issues are, etc., etc. So that really works out in the long run for me.
Cool. Did you have any significant downtime or disruption of your service recently, or is everything running smoothly? What are your big pains?
When I first started, PayPal banned our accounts. That was a big one. I think when I started the first time, PayPal literally took about, I think I had about $75,000 in PayPal, and one fine day PayPal just banned us, and I was literally out without any money.
Shit.
And I needed this money for product, and that was the next collection coming out. So I literally had only $10,000 left, and PayPal, as you know, will not pay you till 6 months or 7 months out. In the long run, it worked for me because the Canadian dollar weakened a lot against the US dollar. So it worked out. But at the time, I needed $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. I didn't have the money. And I literally had some cash stashed somewhere under a pillow, mattress, not lying, but, I had to get everything together, borrowed money, beg, borrow, steal from your parents, do whatever. And I'll never forget that story. It was like yesterday, like 6 years ago. It's like, I was on the way to somebody's wedding and on a car from Vancouver to Calgary, which is about 8 hours away. And then halfway through the car ride, that's what happened. They just canceled everything. I
can't do anything about it. I heard this quite often already, that if you're just locked with PayPal, this takes weeks until you get unlocked again.
Yeah, in the long run, they were quite good. We had to go back. We had to submit all the paperwork because they do it for a reason, right? There's a lot of bad actors out there. There's a lot of people who are like making cheap Rolexes or cheap, Ray-Bans and all that kind of stuff. So they initially thought it was one of those stores. And then when we had to go back and explain everything, it took 3 months, don't get me wrong, but in return, what they did was they signed us a rep. And now we have a rep. Everything is much easier. Everything is a lot quicker. And I'm grateful, but I think that every organization, be it Google, be it Facebook, be it, people have banned accounts on Google, people have banned accounts on Facebook. I've had the suspensions too. But I think if you can actually get to the right person and you have the right dialogue, then the benefit of that is actually long-term. People say, look, I know these people, they're legitimate, don't worry about it. But you must have paperwork to prove that it's all legitimate. I think what people are doing is they're trying to do the number 2 stuff, and they're expecting these people not to get caught. And there's a lot of bad actors out there. I'm like, I'll be honest. If I go to Facebook and if I see the amount of like fake Ray-Ban stores that are being advertised, I'm like, shit, dude, that's gambling, for example. It's like you can't be doing that kind of stuff, man. It's ridiculous, right? It affects the larger amount of people trying to make a legitimate business out of somewhere.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
What role does automation play for your company?
Automation and what, in terms of tasks? in terms of.
Automation in terms of e-commerce tasks, stock keeping, ordering,
Yeah, I
processes.
mean, that stuff, you always have extensions that you can use. And, we actually sit down once a month with these guys who are talking about Bean Ninjas, the bookkeeping service. And they actually explain to us every week, how our profits are, where we need to be focused, profit or loss. I mean, sometimes we have losses too, but it's like, it evens out at the end of the day. But the thing is, what stocks we need, what are the highest selling SKUs. I think at least once a week, I'm actually in the back reading the SKUs that we have, and what the stuff that we need in order to look forward to, right? In terms of automation, in terms of ads, I mean, we've heard about CBO on Facebook, and we've heard about how they're using automations. We've heard about Google moving more towards automated ads. We've heard about all the other platforms that are moving from machine learning to AI. And part of the reason why they're doing it is because they want to take out the human bias in advertising. Because I'm guilty of it as well. My background's in PPC, and sometimes if I have a bad day, then I'll start like cranking up my bids, and next day it's like, it's fine, but it's like you can't be like, ads is supposed to go like that. You can't really have plain and ads because there's people bidding against you, etc., etc. But the reason why this exists is so it takes out the bloody human bias, like people like me doing stupid things in the account, because it takes about 3 weeks for the accounts to like level out. So it's one of those things.
And what is your dev team focused, your ops team focused in the next 12 months? What are your goals?
Well, our goals are to hit about $15 million in sales. So what yeah, exactly.
Respect.
So yeah, thanks, man. But the most immediate thing that we're focused on is delivering world-class customer service to our customers, right? When we look at a company, we say, what is the customer service we want to deliver, right? So the only company I can think about that I would consider to be at the forefront of this is Zappos, right? What they call is the Zappos Experience, right? So when people come to your store, you want to deliver to them something what we call the Branzio 360, right? So 360 is from the time that you come to the store to the time that you're on the store till the time you're purchasing something, from the time that you receive the box, and anytime after that, even 10 years from now, you automatically sign up for that Branzio 360, right? So it's basically like once you're a customer for life. So even if you have issues, like I was saying, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, we actually don't care about the cost of the watch. What we care about is your impression of the company and your impression of being a customer, right? So we've had issues where, we've had instances where we've lost money on customers, and that's fine by me. We don't want to deliver a substandard experience. We want people to go tell their friends all about the experience that they have at Branzio or any one of these at a watch company. We don't want, one pissed off customer, when I think about it, is probably worth about, I'd say it's like, probably $1,000, $2,000 in losses for us, because they're not going to say to themselves, they're going to go to their family, they're going to go to their friends, they're going to go to their, cousins even, in fact. So like a good example of this is a friend of ours. He was stuck in the Maldives during this COVID crisis, right? The hotel had an exceptional opportunity and these guys are on a honeymoon, by the way. They had an exceptional opportunity to actually make this stay free because they couldn't leave the country because of this COVID crisis. But instead, what they chose to do was they decided to make them pay. So those guys are now in about $15,000 in debt, like they're screwed, right? But imagine if they would have literally given it to them, given at least a week or 2 weeks off for free, right? The amount of PR it would have generated just from saying, oh, stranded couple in the Maldives, hotel gives free accommodation for 1 month. Wow, holy shit. Like the amount of like eyeballs you would have gotten onto the news stories. The second thing you got to look about is if they would have actually said, look, I'm okay with this couple, imagine how many people they would have gone and told in their homes, anybody who's getting wet, they would have probably gone out of their way to be like, oh, I'm going to Mauritius or Maldives or wherever. The guys would have been like, wait a second, we stayed at this resort. This is what they did for us. We'll never forget this. And not once, but maybe even 10, 15 years from now. So that's how you think about customer feedback, right? And that's why I said short-term losses, okay, no problems. What we want is we want it long-term.
Yeah, that's cool. The last question for today.
Yeah.
Who has taught you most about e-commerce in your career today, up to date?
I don't know, man. Most of it is self-learned, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not even lying. It's like I wish I could give somebody credit, but yeah, most of my mistakes are mine to learn from. But if there was anybody I looked at like, who got me into like this whole advertising space in general is a guy called David Ogilvy. So, legend of marketing, wrote a couple of books, Confessions of an Advertising Man, a really good book to read. And then Blood, Brains and Beer, another good book to read, written by David Ogilvy. Excellent book. But he's the guy who got me into advertising. I read his book when I was 15, very impressionable, and I said, look, I'm going to be an ad man. So the same concepts of what he's written in that book exists today, and this is 50 years apart, right? Which is basically, no matter what's happened for thousands of years, humans want the same thing. We want community, we want food, clothing, shelter, and we want a brand that, we want to associate with something what our peers associate with. So a good example of that is Tide. So David created Tide, so which is now, I think 1 out of every 5 people know about Tide as a brand. That's on the lower end of things. So yeah, there you go. So it's one of those things.
That's great. Ronnie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. It was really worthwhile to listen to you. I got a lot of new ideas, and I hope all our listeners got the same. And thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good luck with your brand. Good luck, and thank you very much, and have a great day.
Cheers, buddy. Appreciate it.
Bye.